Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode number 22 here in the Happy Space Prison. I don't often like to do stuff off camera because I like to try to include everything, but I did a few things and I let things run for quite some time overnight last night because we just had a lot of stuff that needed cleaned up. We're actually about 200 cycles in the future. We left it like, I think we left it like 12, maybe 1210 or something. I'm not sure. But we're at cycle 1423. I have cleaned a lot of things up. I also did a few things before I started my AFK session. And one is I added in another row of tanks here for water storage. And I changed the way this water works. So water actually now comes down here. It tries to go down this way first, and then it goes this way. This way is down into fill up the buffer tank here so that the buffer tank stays full. Autosave always comes in right when I get started. The other way here is, so it goes that pathway first, and then if this is full, it sends water over here. And then if this line is empty, it puts water here. And that's because our salt water doesn't quite get us through the dormancy period, even though we're storing it all, because we burn it off pretty quick. So when we have this water going in, we use this to drop into the steam chamber so that we have some more steam to keep the system running. And then down here, it all gets collected still, so we have all of our water full. And this is running, I think this is pretty much running all the time because this is turning it on because our water tanks are full. So we're just creating more hydrogen, more oxygen. We have literally tons and tons and tons of it. Other things it did. I greatly increased our water storage down here. I didn't mind using a lot of metal to do it because this is all temporary because these tanks will get removed once I get rid of all this water, but I wanted to just feed all the gravity or the water into this so gravity could feed it out into our oil wells when we turn them on. Basically getting ready for a big amount of oil. And then we'll use all this up before we switch over to purely using the water from our steam down here. So that also feeds in here. So there's a priority system where water coming in from down there goes in here. So it goes through here. It filters out anything that isn't water, which I can take out now because I've cleaned up all the dirty water. And then it goes this way, and it goes in as the first water. And then if there's no water coming from down there, then it pulls water from what we're cleaning. It goes all the way to the top, and then it goes into this top here. I have this set up so that it jumps across, so it backs up down at the bottom first. So basically we're feeding water into the bottom tanks first, and then we go all the way up, and you can see that we're now feeding into this row, and it will not put any water in this row until this one's full. Just liked it that way so that I can tell how much water we have without it being some rows half full and others half full. This is nice. Then the water all feeds out to one point, which is, it goes all the way down here, and then it goes all the way up, and it feeds down this line, and then this is the same way. Water will feed empty out of this one first, and it's kind of the opposite the other way, actually. This one empties first, then this one, then this one, and so water fills up at the bottom and empties out at the top first. So that way, when we're pooling water, we'll be pulling from the same line we're filling, and we're not pulling it out down here and having all the water going everywhere, flowing. It's just like one giant buffer tank. And so we're slowly processing all this water to get it clean and get it into the tanks, and then we can remove this stuff. This water is just a backup. We're just trying to burn it off because we don't need it for anything else. We also have a secondary line here where it comes down here and it feeds first into the line that goes to our oil wells, which are currently turned off. And then after that, it comes up this way. It goes all the way up to here, and it feeds into this tank. So if we don't have water coming from this line, which is our other steam vent, we have water coming in from here to keep this full. That way we always have water to keep dumping water into our system for making cool water for our electrolyzers. Up here, we also made some changes. This kept overpressurizing with steam, and the reason is because I was pulling the water out before I could use it to kind of make everything condense. So I made it so that the water comes up here, it gets pumped, and then it loops out through this way, only if it's stopped. And then I put in a shutoff, and this shutoff is connected to two things. It needs to have atmosphere below 2000, so if the steam builds up in here over 2K in that tile, then it won't let any water out of the system, and it won't let any water out of the system until it gets over this line here. That ensures the pump always has water to pick up and run through the condenser lines. Seems to work pretty good. This thing has a really crazy activity cycle. It's 36 out of every 53 cycles, so it only shuts off for 17 cycles. But we still managed to condense all of the steam during that time pretty quickly, in less than 5 cycles or so. And then we have like 12 cycles where this is just a vacuum, and then it'll turn back on. So we have hot water in here, and this will continue. It's cool enough that it can still work as a condenser. At least it's been working so far. We'll see how it goes. Oh, I have more stuff up there to clean. I've just been sweeping everything as we go and letting duplicants handle it. Because I want everything to be clean. That's been the priority of the last couple hundred cycles. Anytime I have stuff that needs to be swept, I've been queuing it up, and they've been grabbing it and handling it. I also have been working on putting in our new structure for our ladders and removing any ladders that aren't necessary anymore. I want the ladders to be, 7 apart like we talked about, so that they can reach everything to run piping and everything, but the rest of the ladders can go. So we have some more up here that they're cleaning. The only biomes left are this one here that still has our volcano in, and then this one we've started taking apart, but it has a lot of water in that I'm going to have to dump over into this tank, and I really don't want to do it just yet. So I've been letting it go. Down here, we've also done a bunch of work. Let's see. First of all, we have pumped up all of our crude oil. So now the crude oil is all stored in this system. I might change the pumping for these over so that it matches the water ones, but frankly, we're burning through this pretty quickly. And once these are gone, we'll have just a small buffer tank, and we'll just make oil on demand. I just want to get rid of this crude oil first, though we have a lot of water, so I'm debating about putting in some automation so it sends water to keep the tanks full, and then it shuts it off when the tanks get full. But I think that right now, if I just send the water through, so let's turn it on, it'll just keep up, because we're burning the oil as fast as we're producing the oil. Technically a little bit faster, because there's some downtime when the oil wells need to be emptied. And so I don't think it'll overfill these. If it does, there's nowhere for it to go, and it'll back up in the lines, and it'll back up in these. So I'll have to watch for that, because I don't want the oil to spill out anywhere. The only one that would be a real issue is here, because this oil would spill into my hot room, and I just don't want to deal with it. It's not going to be a big problem. It would just sit at the bottom of the room, and I considered putting oil down, a layer of oil down here to help with heat transfer anyway. I think I already showed you this metal tile system down here during the last time. I have it so it's set up with the radiant liquid pipes. I made it so it's just underneath where the water comes out from the two things. And now that it's up to 127 degrees, pretty much when the polluted water lands, it turns to steam. So we don't have any buildup. We have a little bit that splashed over here. This was from when I dropped in some water from the top to get rid of it. It just landed there. It just hasn't boiled off. Eventually, I'd like to get it to the point where the water is coming out as steam, because if we get these petroleum generators hot enough, the water coming out comes out at a temperature based on how hot the generators are. And so that means we could theoretically get it so that it just comes out as steam. We wouldn't even need to worry about this down here. But this does help convert it to steam pretty quickly. I also put in some steam turbines at the top. I have 5 of them. I just did 5 because 5 of them is how much we can send at one time through the water lines. If all of them are running full bore, then it maxes out the steam output. So 5 made sense. It's more than we need. This actually will shut off and use up all the steam if we're not careful. Right now the steam's not hot enough, so they're not running anyway. But this will not turn on until this detects steam at this level. So once this has steam in this tile, which right now it has, it's going back and forth between carbon dioxide and steam. Once it detects steam there for a while, it will switch this on, it will switch this on, which means it turns off this liquid shutoff. So when the steam output comes out, right now, because there's not steam built up in the chamber, the steam output comes this way, it comes down this pipe, and it drops off here so that it can be added back in as steam by being boiled down here, repeating the cycle. If this, however, detects steam, it turns this line red, which means that the shutoff doesn't pull the water out, and the water goes up this way onto our exhaust line, which sends the water back up to here to be put back into water storage. That's our automation for that. And so now we can continue to add heat into this room, build up the steam. If the steam gets hot enough, it will process through the steam turbines. Otherwise, it'll just stay in here and everything will do fine. I did have some changes I had to make on our generators. Some of them I hadn't made out of steel. They're all good now. Everything's working great. I also, one last thing down here, I put in this row of conveyor loaders and sweepers that goes the whole way across the bottom, even under here, so that it can pick up stuff all along here, and it's shipping everything off. It's been cleaning everything out. I need this to pick up my liquids. Let's do them on high priority. I have a row of bottle emptiers, pretty crazy big one up here, so that way when I do the sweeping, I never have to worry about it saying I don't have anywhere for that to go. There's always a spot for the water, polluted water, and salt water to go. They're always open. So we're doing well with all of that. That is where we are as far as the project. The sweeping has gotten over to here. This one, oh, this one's not connected. That's why this one's not emptying. So it stopped here, but now it's picking up all this stuff. I just have it sweeping everything up into our main storage. So it got about halfway through cleaning up the floor. Duplicants have been doing a lot too. I queued up sweeping in other areas. I also have a sweeper down here that's picking up all this stuff and pulling it out. I had a bunch of things fall down here while I was building. And then I have one here because while I was doing some work here, a bunch of stuff fell to this level, and I just don't feel like having the duplicants come in and pick up hundreds of tons of material. Auto sweepers can do it. So this one is just pulling it out, dropping it here, and then this one picks it up, throws it onto the main line. So it's all good. Everything's working good. What we're going to work on right now for today is finishing up things in here. I have a Slickster problem. I have literally hundreds of Slicksters, I think. But this area is broken. I have 30 critters in there. So 32, 38. Okay, so not hundreds. 42 Slicksters that are down here. And they're all starving to death because there's no carbon dioxide for them. I want to bring them over and put them in the hot room. This room is hot enough that I should get nothing but molten Slicksters. I want to set them up in here, and I want to build a collection system for the petroleum that they're going to give off. And then I'll probably put a small section in for the regular Slicksters for when I have them so that I can get oil. And then I can ship the oil into the line here. It works out pretty well. There's an oil line going here, so the oil can go this way, and then there's a petroleum line down here. So I can probably put it in there, though I probably will just ship it over directly to one of these top generators so that I'm not interfering with this line. I don't want to back up our boiler. And so we only really need 5 of these for the boiler line. This one's just getting split between 2 just for aesthetics. I'll probably disconnect this one and make this one that just burns off the excess from the Slickster farm. But we have space down here to do it. We're going to put everything in here. and fit it so that we can collect it. I want it down at the bottom because that'll be the easiest place for us to collect the slicksters. The slicksters themselves are going to probably chew through this carbon dioxide pretty quick. There is 187 kilograms per tile in here, but they eat carbon quickly, and it's not as much carbon as you would think, especially because the only source we have for it right now is these 6 generators. So that is our goal. Over 200 cycles, this is how much oil and petroleum they made. So it's not a ton, because they haven't been being actively fed carbon dioxide. They get a little bit from this one and a little bit from this one, and that's pretty much the only carbon dioxide they've been getting. You can see we get a lot of polluted oxygen from them because we have polluted dirt that drops off from them. I don't know if that's from... I think that's from meat sitting here that people aren't grabbing and then rotting and then turning to polluted dirt, which is another thing I want to fix. I don't really need it, but I don't really want to waste meat. So we're going to work out a system for this. I'm going to make it based on this system here, where we can drop off slicksters and they'll get put into a chamber. So I'm going to work that all out, and I'll come up with a plan of where I want it, and then we can build it together. Okay, I figured out exactly where I want to put our slicksters. I kind of put them right here in the middle of our carbon district. I think this is exactly where I want them. I want them a little bit away from the volcano in case I want to do some more work automating this. So frankly, it's been doing okay just sitting in here. And same with this side. I want it kind of in the middle. I'm doing 2 stables, one for slicksters, one for molten slicksters. That's because even though molten slicksters are kind of my goal, the regular slicksters will get some, and I might as well breed them so that I can get more eggs out of them. If we end up to the point where all we have are the molten slicksters and we don't have any slicksters coming out of it, we'll just change it around. But for now, this is what we're doing. So to make these rooms, basically I just built a 96 tile room. I built it the way I did around the auto sweeper. So the auto sweeper can go in and it can pick up everything in the room. That way we can handle any of the eggs. First things first, let's put in drop-offs. So let's put a drop-off here and a drop-off here. They're both made out of steel, so they'll be fine. And then each of those rooms is going to need a grooming station. We'll do those out of steel. Ooh, I actually have different styles for these. I didn't notice that before. Let's take a look at them, see what we got. I have a rustic grooming station and an overgrown grooming station. Let's do one of each, just to change things up. Just have something fun. So this side we want to be the molten slicksters, molten larva, molten slicksters. We're going to fit 7 of them in the room because it's 96 tiles. You need 12 tiles for each slickster. That gives us some extra wiggle room. This side we're going to do the slicksters. So slicksters... And there we go. Same thing. 7 of them. And then what we can do over here right now is we can remove this one. And this one. And this one. And this one. And that means any new ones that are born will be delivered to our new system over here. And then we'll also wrangle up those ones once we're ready for them. We don't need to have any kind of feeder because slicksters eat carbon dioxide. And we have a mesh tile floor so that anything the slicksters drop will drop out. These are in here specifically for eggs. So let's take a conveyor loader made out of steel. This goes all the way to the top of the room there. So let's put our conveyor loader up here. I can't remember which part of it needs to be seen by it, so we'll just do it like that. That way we can have this so it'll automatically pull out any eggs and send them out. I'll probably also set one up to pull meat out, but we'll deal with that in a little while. So this is going to be for our eggs. We're going to do right above that, we're going to do a room where we have our incubators made out of steel. I'm going to do 2 on each side. And then in that room, we'll also put a door. Not that the room needs it, but we'll do that. Then in here, we're going to do a double door. I need to get rid of some ladders. And then we'll do the same on this side. We're going to want a double door. Actually, I think I want it up one more because I want to have extra space. So let's do that as well on this side. We'll do 2 doors here and then 2 doors above it, which means that our floor for this room is going to be here. So that's what I'm going to have. Thinking about this, I think maybe just because it'll fit in and it'll be more aesthetic, I'm going to do 3 of these on each side. Frankly, I have power, and that'll be extra heat added into our hot room here, which will be fine. And then we're going to put this here. You notice I'm building these above this room, and that's because these are going to house excess critters. And so I want to make it so that while they're there and they're dropping out crude oil and petroleum, that they're handled. So that'll be good. We can put the other doors in now. And I have to kind of go back up here to look to see how I did this room, because I'm going to be smiling after this. I'm going to need a space for a critter sensor inside the room. The conveyor chute is going to be different because it's not going to drop the eggs in there. The eggs are actually going to go and be dropped off. It's kind of like right in the middle of each of these rooms. And then they'll sit on the floor. I'll need a sweeper on each side. If I put it... I wonder how that's going to... Yeah, I can't do it that because then I won't be able to get over to the door where they're going to be. It'll be fine. I think I kind of need a little more space here at the top. I'm going to cancel these because I want to shift these around a little bit. I'm also going to move a couple of these batteries around. So let's get rid of these ladders. And then we'll put in another row of mesh tiles underneath, like this. And then that way I can move these batteries down. I'll add a few more as well for the trouble. I'm going to need to move this down to here. That'll be good. And then in order for them to get to this area to work, let's put 2 ladders there. This side they'll be able to hop down from over there. That'll be fine. So we'll be good. We're just going to wait for them to finish that, and then I'll put in the next stage, which is going to be the drop-off point where we store all of our slicksters and molten slicksters in here. Okay, I've worked out all my spacing. So we have a room here that has 2 double doors on top of 2 double doors and a door to close it off. There's airflow or mesh tiles all around it to seal the room up so that this room will be just its one little room. Same on this side, it's going to be a mirror, so I'm just going to explain the one side. In here, I moved everything up just a little bit so I could fit the conveyor chute in, and then we'll have the auto sweeper. This sweeper is this will close it off so it won't be able to reach up here. It's going to be able to reach in through these doors here to this room, and it's going to be able to reach across to here. So, anytime one of the critters in here turns into meat, we'll be able to grab it. Anytime they lay an egg in here, we'd be able to grab it. I'm still not quite sure if that's going to be an issue. We'll have to mess around and see with that. I think they'll be fine. I think having the eggs inside here won't be an issue, but I can also make it so that the eggs get pulled up and put into here. Wouldn't be an issue at all. So that's probably what we'll do. So these doors are going to be set up so that there's going to be a drop off in each room. So let's put those in a while. There'll be one here and one here. And then the automation is going to be a critter sensor. Critter sensor. Losing my mind. There it is. Critter sensor there, critter sensor there. And then we'll do automation lines down to it. And just to refresh my memory how I did it up top, let me take a look. So the automation I have up here, I have complicated automation for these doors. I don't think I'm going to need that for this one. We'll see. I might change it. But basically, this is set so that if it counts any critters more than 0, it unlocks these doors and opens them. And then as soon as the critter count goes back to 0, it closes them. So basically, we put a slickster down. It sees that it can walk this way. So it does. As it leaves there, it goes over here and bam, it's dropped down. That's all we need for right now. The other automation where it shuts the door, the reason I don't think I'll need that for this is because that's when we were having the eggs dropped off in that same spot. So we didn't want people running in and grabbing the eggs and moving them or whatever. We wanted that to stay closed. In this situation, we're dropping the eggs somewhere different, so I don't think it'll be an issue. I put the power lines so they just kind of split off and can go into each room in here so that they'll be able to handle just being on heavy watt lines. Again, down here where I'm not really worried about the decorations, it's not a big deal. I don't care if there is heavy watt wire everywhere. So we're just gonna need them to finish building all of this stuff for us, and then I think I might be ready to move them over here. I think I have thought about everything I need. These doors are gonna have to be locked because I don't want duplicants going in there. So we'll do that right now as well. And then I'll give this a thought while they're finishing building up here, and then we will probably start moving our slicksters over. So there is, I did take out one of the incubators. I wanted to have a critter pickup in here. So basically, if these slicksters don't get picked up and moved up here before they pop out of the incubator, I want this thing to say, hey, no critters in here, and to move them up to where they're supposed to go, or down here if they need to go down here. I am now sweeping our critters into place. I have set up a queue for these slicksters to be picked up, and people are bringing them over. So hopefully we'll be able to see everything working as intended. We're already at 4 molten slicksters in this room. We'll see the other ones coming in here. I've also run our plumbing. So the plumbing from this one, once we get more than 500 in the bottom row of this for petroleum, it will pick it up and it will ship it off and it will send it into this generator here. And then the, actually, I think I'm just going to disconnect this one. I think that'll be fine. I think it's going to have an issue with this being there anyway. So the petroleum will get burned off in this generator. The other 5 will run normal, and this shouldn't back up. If it does back up, I'll change that out a little bit. I have enough room to fit in another one if I were to, but I don't think I will. The crude oil will get picked up and it'll get dropped onto this line. This line is only ever going to be 2/3 full because it's just getting the oil from these 2 different oil wells, so there will be space to fit the oil onto there. Again, it's not going to get picked up until it goes above 500. The big thing we need to test still is, once we get them in here, will the eggs go where I need them to go? I had to put in a solid filter. That's the thing I forgot. So eggs come from here, 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 and here. They get shipped up. They get sorted so that the slicksters go here. The molten slicksters go over here. So they should work. And then these are set up for the correct... actually, maybe they're not. This one's supposed to be molten. This one is slicksters. This one is supposed to be slicksters, and this is molten. This is why I double-check things. In my mind, I had them on the other side, but I want the petroleum closer to the petroleum generator and this close to the oil, which makes sense. So then, yeah, these are set up right. The last thing to put in is a line for food. So when they drop meat, we're going to go from here up to here. And then we'll put in another one down here for the meat that drops down here when they evolve. We'll go this way. And then we'll have to lead this up and run it up to our base so that that meat can get stored properly. And we'll just connect this, oops, like that and like that. and that, and that. Let's cancel this line. That was a mistake. And that should be good. We can set that to pick up any meat that we get, and it'll get shipped off and stored in our base accordingly. Hopefully by the time we actually need it, this line will have finally finished shipping off all the items that it's sweeping, and we can just drop it onto that line. We'll see. I'm not too worried about collecting it. I just don't, there's no sense for it to go to waste when we have the ability to save it. So I'm just going to let this get finished. I'm going to get all of our slicksters brought over, and then we'll see what happens once we get to these rooms and make sure that they're working, and then this project is essentially done. All right, everybody's getting delivered. I now have 5 slicksters in here, and I have 7 molten slicksters. So I'm just waiting for the last few to get delivered from over here. Our duplicants all have a lot of things to do right now, so we may have to wrangle them again. But the slicksters that are in here are happy, and they're reproducing now. So we'll get some eggs, which will allow the eggs to get taken up here. And then any excess ones, now that these rooms are full, are going to get put in here. The doors will open, and then they'll get stuck in here. And so they can just eat the carbon dioxide. They will not be groomed. They won't be happy. They'll probably won't last super long. But they will give us resources in the forms of petroleum and crude oil. So this is done. This is a whole project. I think it's pretty nice setup. I'm happy with it. So we're going to call it a day for now, and we'll let it go, and we'll tweak it a little bit maybe. But I think that we're going to be okay handling our petroleum and our crude oil from that. This isn't going to give us a ton, but it'll keep us a population of slicksters and molten slicksters so that we have them. And since my goal is to have, a few of every critter at some point on the map, that is the goal. We do need to work out pretty soon increasing our duplicant counts, and I also want to kind of figure out where everybody is at as far as like the jobs that they're doing, so that I can have them closer to where they need to be. I think that's what I'm leaning towards doing. And so in this area, we would need to have duplicants that are pretty much going to take care of the steel area, duplicants that are going to do the grooming in here, and it's things like that. So we'll work on that pretty soon. I want to work on designing the base entirely fairly soon. Are you bringing me a critter? I think you are. So let's stick around and see where they go. Maybe not. Come on. Have a critter for me. Yep, you did. Okay, cool. So he's putting a molten slickster into this room. Door's closed. This is open. So this guy, if we look at his navigation, he can only move to the right. So as soon as he's done drinking up CO2, he has not had any calories for a long time. So it's probably going to take him a minute. He will try to move. Hopefully. Oh, nope, he wants more carbon dioxide, which I guess I can understand. It's been a long time since he's had any calories at all. He's pretty starving. So now that he moves over, the doors get closed, he gets dropped down here, and this is where he will be for the rest of time. If he does lay an egg, which I don't think he will, because I think the confinement is going to prevent him from doing that, we will be able to pick up the egg through there. I think I'm going to try on this side, removing this tile. This side, if I do that, it's going to be a little more of a hassle because I have the block there, but I'll test it over here. So once I get an excess of slicksters, if I make them not confined by having the room be a little wider, more open, I think that might make it so that they will be able to still give us at least one egg. Maybe. I'll have to test that. I'll report back in the next episode whether that worked. But that confirms that everything is working. We're going to do a little bit of cleanup in here. We're going to get everything exactly how we want it. And mostly we're just going to let our slicksters do their thing and handle some of this CO2 that's been building up. We have a constant supply of 5 of these running, producing 500 kilograms per second. So that's 2.5 kilograms per second. Unfortunately, though, these guys, their diet of carbon dioxide is 20 kilograms per cycle. So 2.5 grams per second, or 2.5 kilograms per second, is the total that I get for these. And these guys use 20, which means it's going to take... Oh, I can't do the math. I can't do math that quick in my head. I think it's going to take 8 seconds for each one, which means that 600 divided by 8, that's about 75. 75, exactly 75. 75 slicksters it could support, theoretically. I don't think it's going to support that many, but we'll see. You know, I'm okay with not having quite that many because I would like to keep some carbon dioxide in this room to help with keeping gases in here, at least until we get the steam built up. But if we start getting less carbon dioxide, I'll just move this steam sensor down and keep more steam in the room. It won't be a problem at all. So now we're at the point where we can just tweak everything, but we have our carbon district pretty well set up. We do have space to put in some more buildings as we need to. I'm thinking like glass forge down the road when we decide we want to make solar panels and like the other... I don't know about some of these other machines. I would really like to use the bleachstone hopper to make bleachstone so that I can use the geotuners. My problem is... oh, it uses salt and gold to produce bleachstone. So I guess it doesn't use any... Oh, that's cool. I was thinking that this used chlorine. I was mistaken on that. Okay, so I have gold. My gold is building up. Where is... Let's see how much gold we're at. 75 tons of gold right now, and we have 2 volcanoes producing it, and we have a third one we can open up. And as far as salt goes... Because you're doing the saltwater boiler, we have 643 tons of salt. So let's take a look at that real quick. Off on a tangent. I know we're already late in this episode, but the bleachstone hopper uses... does it say how much? I guess I'll have to build one to find out. But it produces bleachstone from salt and gold, and then I can use that bleachstone under... our geotuner to tune geysers to get better outputs. So the geysers will give more output but more temperature. But that would be fine because we could do something like for this one, instead of just using it here and putting it into a boiler, we could turn it into a boiler because it would come out boiling and it would already be steam. So we'll probably mess with that before the end of the series, but not too soon. I have a lot of other things I want to get done. This area will get cleaned up. We'll get the last of these slicksters moved in, and then we'll start working on doing some work over here, cleaning the last of these things up. But we're pretty much done with the carbon district for now. And we can start working on maybe setting up some more things in our base and cleaning some more things up and deciding where we want our duplicants to live for the long term. Again, a little bit longer because I was going around with the different stuff with the slicksters, but I think that we got everything involved in this episode, so we are ready to move on in the next one. I hope you enjoyed watching. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.